Hello and welcome along to another virtual CoderDojo session. My name is Rob O'Connor. I'm a volunteer mentor at CoderDojo in Dunmore East in County Waterford, and doing a series of videos here to hopefully get you started down the road of a bit of coding and programming and computing. With this video, I'm assuming that you're somewhat familiar with block-based programming, and if you're not, you should go back and check out some of the earlier videos. Look at the hour of code, and that should get you sorted there. I'm also assuming that you've used Scratch before, whether it's the version that you download onto your computer or the online version in a browser. If that sounds like complete gobbledygook to you, it means you haven't done it. So I would say go back and look at the introduction to Scratch video and then come back and complete this set of exercises. And I forgot to mention in the last video that all of the code that I'm going to create in Scratch will be publicly available on my own Scratch profile up on the Scratch website. So you can get that at scratch.mit.edu/users/curlybert, and we'll try and include a link to that in this video here as well. Curlybert is my online nickname kind of thing that I use. Robert, Bert, Curlybert, because I've got a big mop of curly hair on the top of my head. If we look on the profile page now at the moment, you're only going to see one project, which is the bear walking project that we did in the last exercise. So if we click on that, this is the website now that we're seeing here, okay? It loads up, and if we run it, we get the thing of the bear walking across the screen, and then he's going to say rar at the end of it. And recall as well that you can look at the code of this by clicking on the C inside. As you see there, it's a very simple program that moves the bear across, animates or changes the costumes, and then says rar at the end. So everything is going to be up there. The reason I mention that to you is that in case you get stuck on any exercise, you can have a look at my code, you can have a look at my solution at any point to get yourself unstuck, okay? But I would ask you to try and figure it out for yourself first, because, well, I suppose that's the fun of it, and so okay, today we're going to do 3 lessons. Actually, we're going to do 3 things. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to animate a name. We're going to animate your name. We're going to create a very simple program that does that. Second thing we're going to do then is to create a kind of a very simple story involving a wizard and an elf. It's very, very simple, okay? But what we're going to be doing there is changing backgrounds and doing things like that. And then the third thing we're going to do is create a very simple octopus chase game, okay? And it'll all be done via Scratch. So I have a blank Scratch project over here, and when you start a new project, this is pretty much what you get. So why don't we get to it? So the first one here is animating your name. Now, first things first, whenever you get a new project, you're going to have Scratch the cat is going to be there by default. So we're going to get rid of him, and again, if you go to our little sprite box here, we can just boom, X, and he's gone now. Now we have no sprites in our project. So what we're going to do here now, this is quite a good one because it's a great way to learn. Scratch comes with a whole load of tutorials built into them, okay? So if you click on tutorials, that's going to bring up this window here, and there's loads of these. We're going to do this one, and this one today, okay? And the reason I mention that to you is that all of the steps you'll be able to see in here as well as me talking about them to you. So you'll get it 2 ways, and that means you're less likely to get stuck on anything. Also, there's a whole load of these tutorials here that you can just muck about with yourself if you're looking for something to do after these exercises. Okay, so we look at the animate a name, okay, and that will bring up a little window down here, and this is where it goes, okay? So Anya, now you do whatever you want to do. So you're going to do your name, I'm going to do my name, So, you know, my name is Rob, but you could, if your name is Dave or Jemima or Sophie or Mary or Philip or whatever is your name, you can do that, okay? You can just decide whatever it is that you want to do. We're going to do 4 letters. If your name only has 3 letters, that's fine. If your name has 10 letters, well, we'll just do a shortened version to 4, and then you can add in the letters later on yourself. Okay, so if we look at the tutorial down here, okay, if we click on next, it'll tell us what the first thing we should do, and this is where it says pick a letter sprite. So if we go down to the bottom here, you should see this is the sprite one, so we're going to choose a sprite. You just click on that. That's going to bring up this screen full of all the different sprites that we can have. There's loads of them there. But if you click up here, you'll have letters. You can click on that, and that gives us this one here. So I'm going to choose an R for Robert. Boom. I'm going to bring that in there, okay? So this is telling me what to do. You see, choose sprite, select the letter, okay? So I have my R. When this sprite is clicked, play sound meow until done. Okay, so when this sprite is clicked is control, or is an event. So you can see here it's the kind of the light orange or dirty yellow. So when this sprite is clicked, I'm going to drag that in to my program area, and then I need a sound one, which is this kind of pinky purpley thing. Play sound meow until done. Now let's have a listen to this. So once I click on the letter R, I'm going to hear a meow. So you go do that on the first letter of your name now. If you want to, you can even change the sounds. If you want, you can put in a different sound, but we'll leave it at meow for now. Do you know what I might do? While you're doing that, I'm going to change the background, because that white background is kind of boring. And remember, you go down here to the bottom, choose a backdrop, and I'm just going to pick these wavy lines. I like the look of them. Okay, so hopefully you have a letter in now, and it goes meow. Okay, and then we can move on to the next part of our Animate Your Name tutorial. Move that over here a little bit. Okay, so we're going to add in another letter sprite. Okay, so choose a sprite, and we're going to click on the letters, and this time I'm going for an O for the second letter in my name, but again, you can do whatever it is that you want to do there. Okay, now I want to write code that's going to change the color of this letter when I click on it. So I want to get that when this sprite is clicked. Notice now here, so if I click on my letter in my sprite box, if I click on the letter R here, I see the code play sound meow to done. But if I click on the glow O, I only have the when sprite click. So you've got a different program, different behavior associated with the different letters. If I click on O now, nothing happens because I haven't programmed anything yet. Whereas if I click on R, it plays the meow sound. Okay, so I want this to change color effect by 25. So what this is going to do is, this is all colors, colors are all sorted by numbers, and this is going to actually change the color number of this sprite by 25, by a value of 25. So watch, if I click on this O now, boom, it's changed color, and it's changed again, and it's changed again, and it'll keep changing every time I click on it. See there? It's going all the way around, different colors, different shades. Awesome. So you go and do that now. Make sure you get your second letter in, and when this sprite is clicked, change color effect by 25. If you need to pause the video and go and do that, that's absolutely fine. Okay, assuming now you have 2 letters in your program or in your Scratch project, we're going to go and add a third letter, and this time we're going to put a letter that rotates. It's going to turn itself around when you click it. We're going to add in a little bit of very small bit of animation into it. So I'm going to add a new sprite, clicking on the choose a sprite. I'm going to click on the letters. Even though it says to use one of these blocky ones, I'm actually going to choose a different one. I'm going to choose this story one for the crack. Why not? Going to drag that in there. That's quite small actually, so I'm going to make it ever so slightly bigger. So if you see here with this letter, look, there's no code associated with it either. So again, we look at O, we can see our change color effect. We click on the R, and we have when this sprite is clicked, play the sound. B has nothing. I'm going to change another property with B though. I'm going to make this ever so slightly bigger. So this is at size 100. I'm going to make it size 150. Aha. Now it's roughly about the same size as the other letters. Okay, so we're going to make this spin. If you look at this here, it might be hard to see in the video, but when you're doing this on your own scratch, on your own computer, it might be easier to see. We're going to say when this sprite is clicked, we're going to put in a repeat block, and we're going to get it to turn 15 degrees, wait a second, and then so it's going to turn 15 degrees 10 times. Okay, so it's going to turn 150 degrees. Okay, so I will get my, when this sprite is clicked, going to bring in a repeat block. Then I'm going to bring in some motion, which is a blue one right up the top. Turn 15 degrees, and then I'm also going to bring in a wait block. I'm going to snap that in there, and now what should happen when I click on the B, it should start turning. There it goes. So why don't you go and do that now? Add in a third letter and get it to rotate around 150 degrees. That says to wait a second. I'm going to make that a bit faster. Just while you're doing that, I'll go and do this. So I'm going to make that a half a second, 0.5 of a second. If I click on this, it should move a bit quicker now. Yeah, it moves a bit quicker. I'm going to make it even quicker again, actually. I'm going to make it 0.3. Look at that now going around there. This is changing color, and this one goes. So hopefully now you have 3 letters in your project. If you need to pause the video to catch up, that's absolutely fine. You go and do that. And we're going to add in a last letter. So Robert is my name, so I'll add in a letter E. So instead of Rob, we'll have Robe, but do you know what? That's okay. And this time we're going to change the size of it through code, actually. So if I go with my letters, and I'll pick this one, a block one. Put it there. I picked an I instead of an E. It doesn't matter. I picked the I because it was down there. Robbie, why not? Okay, and again, notice there's no code associated with this, but the letter B has its code, the letter O and the letter R. The reason I mention that is that sometimes when you've got lots of sprites in your Scratch program, it can get a bit confusing as to where you're putting your program. So you want to always make sure the right one is selected that you want to add the program to. So in this case, I want to add it to the letter I. So I click on the I and I do it that way. Now this program is quite similar. This bit of the program is quite similar to what we did with the B, except instead of rotating it, we're going to make it grow and shrink. Okay, so I get my, when this sprite is clicked, I want to get a repeat block. Okay, and this time it's telling me to do it 15 times. And I want to get one of those purple ones that says change size by 10. So it's going to make it 10 bigger. And then I want to get another repeat block. If I ran that now, this is what would happen. Boom, look at that. Hoo hoo hoo. Click again, it gets even bigger. Okay, I'm actually just going to put it back to where it was. If I make that minus 10, it'll reduce it by 10. and now it reduces it again by 10. Okay, so, but it does it 15 times, so it's actually 150 bigger. And then I put in my second repeat block, 15, and also change size by 10, except this time I want it to be minus 10. So what's going to happen is this program is going to make the letter I bigger by 10 15 times. So it'll go 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 15 times to get bigger, and then it's going to make it change size by minus 10. It's going to reduce the size by 10 15 times. So when I click on it, it should get bigger and get smaller. And if I click on that now, I get boom, boom. So it's like it's jumping out at you. So that's that program saved. Animate your name. We have our little turny aroundy thing, changing colors, and playing a sound. There's lots of skills there that we've done. We've done a lot of things in that exercise. If you've got stuck on any of these, this program will be up on my Scratch profile, so you can go and have a look at that now and see if you've gone wrong anywhere where you can fix that. And assuming it's all going ahead, all is well with you, we'll go on to the next exercise. Okay, so this is the second of today's exercises, and this time we're going to create a kind of a very simple kind of a storybook. This is really simple now, but if you want to take it further yourself, that's absolutely fine. So the first thing you got to do is create a new Scratch project. Actually, just in case you don't know how to do that, on your Scratch environment, if you go File and New, and it'll just create this blank one for you. If you have an existing project open, it will ask you if you want to save your contents, etc, etc. So and if you want to save your work at any point, you can go File, Save to your computer, and also if you want to open a project that you've previously saved, File, Load from your computer, and pick those. Okay, like with the previous one, we're going to follow one of the tutorials here. So as well as me talking to you here, you should also have the steps in a little kind of animated window on your screen as well. So it's less likely that you're going to go wrong anywhere or get stuck. So this time, create a story. So again, as with before, I'm going to get rid of Scratch the Cat for the first time. Now, this is going to get us to change the backdrop. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is add a backdrop, which is down here. Now my video screen might be obscuring this, but if you go over to the bottom right hand corner, choose a backdrop, click on that, and we're looking for the witch's house, which is here. And now if you look, you can see I have this kind of witch's house thing with a cauldron and everything like that. If you need to pause the video at any steps, please do, and then just move on to the next step. So make sure you stay with us for this exercise. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a character. We're going to add a wizard, and that's a sprite. So we go down to our choose a sprite box, click that, and we go looking for him, a wizard. He'd be down here somewhere. A handy thing you can do is you can go into the search box if you're looking for something in particular. So if you were looking for a ball, for example, you could type ball, and all the ones that have associated with a ball, you could get that there. But I'm looking for a wizard, and as you can see, I have a couple of wizards here. So I'm going to add in this guy. I'm going to put him in over there. So there he is. And then what I'm going to do is add a little program to the wizard that says when the program is started, he's going to say welcome to magic school for 2 seconds, and that's going to be like a speech bubble. He's not actually you're not going to hear him say that. It's just going to be a speech bubble. So say, and I need my when this is clicked, so I'll put the two of those together. Say welcome to magic school. Now if I start my program, welcome to magic school. If you can't see that, I'll just make it big. You can always make your program big by clicking this full screen button. If I press my green one, welcome to Magic School. And then you can bring it back from there. So you go and make sure you have that done, and then we move on to the next step, which is where we add another character. This time we're going to add in an elf. You can add in a different character if you want. You can add in a frog, or a fairy, or whatever, or a basketball, whatever you want really. Although an elf might make more sense. So I'm going to add in the elf, and again I'll just have a look. Elf, and bring him in. Now I'm going to modify this. If you look at the elf now, so the wizard is facing this way and the elf is also facing this way, and I want them to kind of talk to each other. So what I'm going to do is change the elf sprite so that he's facing the other way. I'm going to flip him horizontally. Okay, so the way you do that is you make sure you have the elf selected, and then you go into costumes. See this? And that means in here you can change all sorts of things. So you can change colors, you can draw on them if you wish. So you could start doing that kind of stuff with them if you wanted, which I don't want to do that, so I'll undo that. You could. So what I'm going to do is click on flip horizontal, and what we should see is the elf flip the other way. So instead of looking to the right, he's looking to the left. Boom. Great. Okay, and now if we look over at my window over here, we see that the elf is now facing the wizard. So it's like they're having a little conversation. Okay, assuming you got that done, we'll move on to the next step. Pause it here if you need to go and do that. Okay, so we're going to add in a little bit of code for the elf. So when the green button or the green flag is clicked, the elf, first thing he's going to do is wait 2 seconds. The reason I'm going to get him to wait 2 seconds is that the wizard says welcome to Magic School, and while the wizard is saying that, the elf is going to be quiet, but then he's going to say something. Okay, so he's going to wait 2 seconds, and then he's going to say, I'm going on a quest. On a quest. Okay, and if I make my window big and I press my green flag, welcome to Magic School, I'm going on a quest. And the way our code was written, it synced up perfectly, because the wizard says that for 2 seconds, and while the wizard says that for 2 seconds, the elf is waiting for 2 seconds, and then the elf says, I'm going on a quest. Just for the crack, if we took that wait 2 seconds out and they both did it at the same time, this is what we'd get. It's like they're both talking at the same time. Nothing is happening, or we're not getting so they're talking over each other. So that wait is just about trying to synchronize, trying to line up all the various bits of our program. So pause it here now if you need to go and do that, and then come back when you're ready for the next bit. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another backdrop to our program. Okay, and we're going to change it to a mountain. So we go choose a backdrop, and we're looking for the mountain. Click on that, and now it looks like the elf and the wizard are in the mountain. Don't worry, it's going to make sense in a couple of minutes. So you go and add that in now, and when you're ready, we'll move on to the next step. Pause it if needs be. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we actually have a couple of backdrops loaded into this program. We can only see one of them at any one time though. So we're going to click on the backdrops over here, and we're actually going to put in some code to be associated with the backdrops. So we're going to have code associated with the background of the screen as well as the sprites. So in this case, I'm going to add in, when this is clicked, we want it to switch the backdrop to the witch's house for the start. Then we want it to wait 4 seconds. So that's 2 seconds for the wizard to speak, and then 2 seconds for the elf to speak. So that's 2 plus 2 equals 4, if my maths is correct. And then we want it to switch the backdrop to the mountain. So if you notice here, we've got all these other backdrops, all the ones associated with the program. So now what should happen is when we click this, it should switch back to the witch's house, wait 4 seconds, the lads will say their thing, and then it will switch to the mountain. So let's try that out. Oh, look at the magic school. I'm going on a quest. Boom. So it's like our elf is going on a quest to the mountain. Okay, so if you go and do that, if you can't find where you're supposed to add that program, remember you click over here on the backdrop tab, and that's where you'll add that in. Assuming all is well, we move on to the next one. Now, so the other thing then we're going to do is we're going to add in some hide character things. So that basically what we want is that when the background switches to be the mountain, we want the wizard to disappear, because it's only the elf is going on the quest. So I want to, when background switches to, and select mountain. Oh, sorry. That's supposed to go with the wizard, excuse me. So I need to click on the wizard first, okay? And then we say, when background switches to mountain. So what I'm doing is I'm associating an event with the wizard. So when that happens, hide. So I've got 2 bits of code associated with the wizard now. The first where he says welcome to magic school, and the second one is that when a certain condition is met, i.e. the background changes to be the mountain, the wizard character is going to hide from view. So let's try that out and see what happens. Boom. So the wizard disappears at the same time as the witch's house. So what we've done there is we've lined up a number of different programming events together. Assuming that's okay, we move on to the next one. The other thing we need to do is if we go and run our program now, the wizard is gone. The reason the wizard is gone is because we hit him in the last program, and Scratch doesn't always reset itself. So sometimes we've got to put things back into the code. So what we need to do is add a show variable or a show command to the wizard. So we say when the green flag is clicked, show the wizard, say welcome to magic school, and then only disappear when the background switches to the mountain. So if we click this now, we should see the wizard again. Welcome to magic school, I'm going on a quest, boom, and they're gone. So there was quite a lot in that one there. We changed the background, we added in some little events, and we based them around time, 2 seconds and 2 seconds. And then based on a change in conditions, one of the characters will hide himself and equally then show himself at the start of the program. Okay, so hopefully you've got all that done. And if you got stuck at any point, you can go and have a look at the create a story on my Scratch profile. Assuming that's okay, we move on to the last exercise for today. So again, if you're stuck, you can go to my page on the Scratch website, and you can click on the Animate Your Name or the Create a Story one, the Animate Your Name, and you can see all of my code by clicking on the C inside, and there it is, the O and the B and all of that stuff. It's all there, okay? So you can see any of those. scratch.mit.edu/users/curlybert. Okay, we've got one more exercise that we're going to do today, okay? And this time we're going to create a very simple little chase game, okay? So we're going to create a new project. So if I press File, New, do I want to replace the contents of the current project? Yes, I do. Now I have saved my work. If you don't know how to save something, you go File, Save to your computer, and you call it whatever you want. In my case, it's Create a Story. You can call it whatever you want, and then wherever you save it to, you save it to. So File, New, replace the current contents. Yes, and like with the previous two examples, these are also based on some of the tutorials that come with Scratch, so you can see all of the steps alongside the video in a little animation on your screen as well. So this time we're going to go with the Make a Chase game. Okay, so we have this here. We have our little octopus. So if we move on to the first step, we've got to add a backdrop. Well, actually, we'll get rid of Scratch as well because we don't need him. So we're going to add a backdrop, and we're going to add an ocean backdrop. Now I'm going to move a little bit quicker on some of these because I think you know where a lot of the code is and where a lot of the things are on Scratch now at this point. But if you need to pause the video at any stage just to catch up, that's absolutely fine. You just go ahead and do that. So choose a backdrop, and I'm looking for the ocean. Okay, the underwater, yeah, that's it. Okay, gonna add that in there now. That looks lovely. Okay, now I'm going to add in a sprite, and I'm going to add in an octopus. So choose a sprite, and again I can look for an octopus. There he is. There's the octopus. Just put him in the center of the screen. Now I'm going to add some programming based around keys so that the octopus will move to the left when I press the left key on my keyboard, to the right when I press the right key on my keyboard, up when I press the up key, and down when I press the down key. So these are all in the control block. Sorry, in the in the event block. The light yellow one. I'm always getting confused between the kind of the light yellow and the orange because they look so similar. So when space is pressed, except I want when right arrow is pressed, motion. So I want to change the X value by 10. So the screen in Scratch is based on XY coordinates. So X is for the horizontal, that's for the ones that go across the way, and Y is for the vertical, that's the ones that go up and down. Okay, so when I say when right arrow key pressed, change X by 10, and if I press the right arrow now, the octopus should move over 10 spaces. Now if you might remember from the bear one, 10 is quite small. See him there, he moved 10. But if I press the left arrow, he's not doing anything, up he's not doing anything, and down he's not doing anything. You can't see that I'm pressing the keys, but just believe me that I am. That's because we haven't written any code associated with those keys. So I'm going to add in similar code to the right arrow with the left arrow. So I can go over to my events when left arrow, change X by minus 10. So change the X value by minus 10. So plus 10 to go to the right, minus 10 to go to the left. Now if I press my left arrow, I should see my octopus moving, which I do. So he can move left and right. Assuming you have that done, we'll move on to the next step. If we've done the left and right, you can probably guess what's coming next. Yep, the up and the down. So actually you can drag it in, but sometimes it's also really handy to just copy some code that you already have. So here I want to, if you right click, duplicate, and that brought that over there. So right click, when up arrow pressed. Now I don't want to change the X though. I want to change the Y. So when the up arrow is pressed, I want to change the Y by 10. And if I press the up arrow now, the octopus should start moving up the way, but he can't move down. But if I right click and duplicate, when the down arrow is pressed, change the Y by -10. So I should have code for the X, the Y, for the right, the left, the up and the down. And now my octopus can move in 4 directions. Assuming you have that done, we'll move on to the next step. Thursday work. Okay, now we're going to add in another sprite. This time we're going to add in a kind of a star, like a starfish. Okay, and this starfish is going to kind of glide around the screen. So I'm going to add in this star. And once I have the star in, I'm going to add some code that gets that star to just move randomly around the screen. So what I'm going to do is create a forever block, and then I'm going to get it to glide. Glide is where the sprite will kind of move, instead of just moving instantly, it'll move it over a period of time. So I want the star to take 1 second to move to a random position on the screen. So it could be immediately next to it, or it could be over the other side of the screen. So it's going to start darting around the screen. And I just need to add in my, when my green arrow clicks. So if I click on this here now, and I see my star here, start just moving around the screen. Sometimes it'll be slow, sometimes it'll be fast, because it's picking a random point on the screen and it's moving to that, and it's taking 1 second to get there. And also I can move my octopus around as well, and that's all lovely. So assuming you have that done, we'll move on to the next step. Now what we've got to do is go back to the octopus sprite, and what we want to do is we want to put in some code that detects if the octopus is touching the star, and then is going to play a sound. So if the octopus, this is in gaming terms what we would call a collision, where if one sprite touches another sprite. So what we want to do is check to see if the octopus is touching the star and play a sound whenever that happens. Okay, so I'm going to add in my green arrow. So this code just runs a forever block, so it just runs all the time. And then what I want to say, if, I'm bringing in an if statement. So you might remember something like this from the hour of code activity that we did, which is basically a condition. If a certain condition is met, then do this. So if, and what I got to do is bring in a sensing block, which is this kind of light blue one. So if touching, and even the shapes of them, they're quite similar to, they fit, so as well as color coding, they're also kind of, the shapes fit in. So this is a kind of a hexagon type thing. So if touching, and if I select from the thing touching the star, play sound wand. Okay, so play sound, ooh, wand isn't there, but splash is. So let's just select that. Now, if I run my program, and anytime, oh, so anytime the star touches the octopus, we hear that. So assuming you have that done, let's move on to the next step. And this is where we are going to create a variable. Now a variable it's like a value. It's like a value that we want to keep track of. So in this case, it's going to be a score. So basically we're going to give points every single time the octopus touches the star. So a variable, I'm going to make a variable, okay? And we're going to call this score. Okay, and we're going to say for all sprites. Okay, so now we have a new variable called score. And look at the way it popped up on the top left-hand side of the screen. That's because this arrow is clicked here. If I uncheck that arrow, it'll go away. But if I check that, it will show up on the screen. And I want it to show up on the screen, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay, assuming you have that done, we move on to the next bit where we're going to do some code that's associated with that variable. So back in the block that we did for the octopus to play a sound whenever it touches the star, what we want to do is to change the score by 1. It's just going to add 1 to it. So if I change my variable, change that to score by 1, every time the octopus touches the star, we should see that score value go up by 1. So if I run this now, see the score value has gone up by 1, gone up by 2, 3, 4. Interestingly, do you notice the way it takes just a second for the score value to go up? I wonder why that might be. The reason is that the first bit of code to be executed is it plays the splash sound and then it changes the score by 1. Whereas if I flip those around, change the score by 1 and then play the splash sound, what I should do is I should see the score change quite quickly and then the splash sound plays. So the splash takes maybe a second for it to play entirely, which is why it looked like there was a bit of a lag on the score. So if I start that again, just make it big so you can see it. Start again, look. See, the score value is changing instantly. Yeah. So again, that's like we were talking about with the kind of the wizard and the elf one. It's about the kind of the synchronization and the timing of the program, so that it seems it fits what a user or a player might expect for something to happen in a game or a program. So this little lesson will also be up on the profile page on my Scratch on my Scratch profile up on the website. So if you've got stuck on any of these activities, again, you can just look at my solution and figure it out. Hopefully get yourself unstuck. So we've done 3 activities today. We've done quite a lot in today's lesson, but we're starting to see what you can do in Scratch. You can do quite a lot. Okay, so maybe you're starting to think about, oh, I could create a little game, or I could maybe write a little story and animate it in Scratch. You can do lots and lots and lots of different things. So there you go. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's lesson. I assume you have if you stuck with it this long, because although if it was me, I'd have switched off ages ago. So there you go. Okay, we're going to do another exercise. This time in the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to write a band. We're going to create a robot band that's going to have lots of it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a bit of code in there. We're going to have some animation, some sound, and all sorts of things, and hopefully you might even take it a little bit further yourself. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.